Okay, I'm going to shoot a video here on making a natural bowstring for a bow drill fire in Florida. I never did this while I was down there, but I'm going to do it now. And what I want to do is get a nice frond like this. Okay, you want a long one, so you only have to make one piece of cordage. Hopefully this will be enough. If not, I'll just have to weave some more in. And what I'm going to do is get the full length. I'm going to cut a piece the full length of this, and another piece the full length, and I'm going to reverse wrap them together. And we want to do that because when you make a bow drill fire, if you're using improvised cordage or any other kind of cordage other than like something strong like bank line or paracord, then it just kind of frays on you and it'll just break. You know, you use a boot, just try it with a bootlace string, and eventually it's going to break. Okay, if your bootlace isn't made of paracord. So what you want to do is get yourself a couple pieces of these and weave them together to increase that strength, so you don't have to do this more than once. So I'm going to be doing it with a reverse wrap weave. It'll be pliable enough so we can tie our knots. I showed you I made a blood knot with this cordage right here. So I'm going to go ahead and reverse wrap this quick. We'll skip through a lot of that stuff and just get right to it. I got my materials already made. I'm going to be using a palm frond as the fireboard, and I'm branching out here, and I'm going to be using a piece of yucca as my spindle. Okay, they're pretty similar materials, so I'm kind of curious how they work together. I'm going to be using those to hopefully get my fire going, and I'm actually going to be using the same bow that I use in the fire bow in Florida. So we got our materials ready, and now we're just going to go ahead and make our string. Okay, after about 40 minutes of weaving, I've got a fairly strong and long piece of string. Okay, now towards the ends, I purposely wanted it to get thinner like this, because one end I'm just going to tie off as a knot, and the other end I want to be able to take off easy in case I have to loosen it or tighten it. So we got our string, and I'm going to go over a couple things here in a second before we get going. First thing I want to explain is how I made this cordage. You want to make sure you make these strong enough and meticulous enough where it's not going to break, because if it breaks during your bow drill fire, you're back to square one and you're going to start over. And this stuff will tear your fingers up making this. Okay, it's not that easy. And what I did is I used this outer, because this outer layer here is a little bit stronger than the inner layer. So what I did is I stripped that off, as you can see, and then I weaved it down into real small pieces. Okay, and I used about 3 strands for each one, and I had to connect maybe 3 times to this. Okay, and I wanted to point that out. You have to watch my other videos to see how I reverse wrap it if you need to see that. I'm not going to put that in this one. I just want to show how well this cordage works for a bow drill fire. Okay, so we got all our materials down here. I just have a small little random tinder bundle. Okay, it's nothing huge or fancy. I'm just basically trying to get a coal with this material here. Okay, so we're going to strap this thing up and give her a whirl. Okay, so now we want to tie this on, and I put some extra notches in here around the edges here, and I want to use the end that's a little bit thicker to just tie my knot. And you want to save as much as you possibly can, so be sparing with your cordage. Okay, I want just enough to put a knot in this. Okay, so get this right there. Tighten her down real good. Bring it back over. Go back through itself to create our knot. Okay, and this stuff is strong, so you gotta cinch her down good. Okay. If you gotta bite it, that's fine. It's not gonna hurt you. Okay, so there's part number one. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. It feels pretty tight. Doesn't seem like it's gonna come out on me. Okay, so now you can see we got this much extra cordage here. Okay, I did that on purpose because you want to make sure you got enough. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try this first and see if it works. I'm not sure if it's gonna. It's called a timber hitch. I'm just going to use the piece of yucca spindle. Use this to give me an idea how much I'm going to need. How much slack. Then I'm going to wrap this through itself 4 times if I can. I'm not sure if this method's going to work. But I'm going to try it. Okay, so we're going to try to burn our hole in here. Be real careful with this thing. She's spinning good now. Okay, I'm happy with that. Burnt the hole in pretty good. So we cut our notch in here. So like I showed you in the other videos, give ourselves a fairly decent sized notch that goes just inside the circle. You want to be in the circle enough where the embers can fall into the notch you make, but you don't want it so deep that you don't have any circle left. Okay, make sure it can get some air in there. Let's see if we can produce a coal now. Okay. We're ready to try. Let's see if we can get it coal. Okay, it started to spin on me. So what I'm gonna do, I know how to fix that. It got a little bit too wide. So I'm gonna real quick take this down. Okay, the string held up good so far, but my spindle started to get wider because I had it notched down. So I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so it fits in that hole better. Hopefully we still have enough left to get our ember. Just going to take it down a little real quick. Like that. And tighten it back up. Okay, and I'm going to put my hand here to tighten it. That's what I'm going to have to do. Okay, so try again here. That's what I'm going to have to do. Okay, so try again here. That worked a little better there. Okay, that worked a little better there. That's all that took. So we got ourselves an ember here. We're going to go ahead and place that in here. We actually got quite a bit of natural wind right now. It'll start to burn this. You can see. Okay. Pretty hot. Not a very big tinder bundle. There we go. Okay. So our string actually survived quite a bit right there. And it's still not broken. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Didn't have much of a tinder bundle either. Didn't know if I was going to get flame or not there. Wind picked up on me, which didn't help. But you can see, you know, what happened there. I was trying to explain. I wanted to go as quick as I could because I was going to lose a lot of my heat and I didn't know if this was going to last. You can see it frayed a little bit right there. That's where I probably had a connect point because it gets a little thicker in those areas. But the rest, I mean, that held up pretty good. So we have all materials that you can find in Florida. I've seen yucca in the wilds in Florida. I just wanted to try it out with yucca on cabbage palm frond, and clearly it works quite well. I had a little bit of a difficulty there on the first one because what happened is you should not have this happen. What you want to do is have your spindle all the same length because your spindle's going to burn down, and what I always do is I always carve the end down like this right here. You can see where that's a little thinner. well, I didn't think I was going to use that much, but I did, and it started to get up into this thick stuff, and then my cordage started to slip on there, okay, which means it was just sitting there spinning. The spindle wasn't spinning, but the cordage was spinning on that because it was so tight, okay. And then another tip that I want to explain that I don't think I've ever explained, when you, because your cordage is going to stretch, usually no matter what it is, it's going to stretch. So it's going to get looser on you, okay? So if that happens, all you need to do, instead of, retying the string, if you don't have to, if you have to, you have to. But if you just give a little bit of pressure right here, okay, right here, and that's why you want the bow shaped. You can use a straight piece of wood. It doesn't have to be shaped like a bow, but if you have a shape like a bow, you have this advantage, okay? You can simply grab the string and pull it down, and that tightens it up enough, and that's what I did right there, and clearly it worked just fine, okay? So make sure you know those tips when you're going to make yourself a bow drill. You probably are better off with something like this. I've always just used a bow for that reason, because I know cordage stretches, and I don't like it when it stretches because then it's too loose and then I have to retie it. But I've learned that this little trick works pretty good. Just giving it a simple squeeze like that, you just adjust. You might have to tilt it down a little more because your spindle's going to want to do that right there, but you can adjust doing that. So there you have it. That's a natural cordage fire bow string, and I decided to do this one real quick. I was going to do the hand drill and fire plow first, but I didn't want this stuff to dry out on me, so I used this real quick and shot this. I'll be coming with a hand drill and fire plow video with just cabbage palm. We're not going to use any other materials, just cabbage palm. I'll be using cypress that I got from Florida and some old man's beard as tinder. I'm trying to stick with the natural methods there. So stay tuned for any of that. But I just wanted to give you a quick look at this. Turned out pretty good. Go ahead and get yourself some cabbage palm, make yourself some bow drill strings out of this. This is good stuff to practice with. It's pretty easy to work with. You need to practice though, because you're going to get blisters on your fingers making this cordage. It's going to tear you up a little bit. Me making hand drills, okay, you can see right there, that's from doing hand drills. I've made multiple hand drills and now my hands are paying the price, so I need to take a break. And that's what it takes. You got to practice to get good at these things. So this here, I'm pretty happy with that. Go ahead, try that out, and we'll be back shortly here with another video on fire making for Florida.